Hello and welcome back to my Ansible series. I'm really excited because in this video we are actually going to write our first playbook. In the previous video, I showed you an example of some ad hoc commands that actually simplify our administration of our servers. For example, with one command, we were able to install the updates on all of our servers. But the real strength of Ansible comes from its playbooks. When we write a playbook, we can define the state that we want our servers to be in and the plays or the commands that Ansible will carry out to bring our servers to that state. And that's what we're going to explore in this video. So I hope you are loving this series so far. I love Ansible. It's my favorite technology, or at least one of them. And if you also are enjoying this series, please click that like button because that lets YouTube know that you want to see more content just like this. And also be sure to check out my Patreon page because if you are a patron of my channel, then chances are you have already seen this video because when it comes to tutorials, my patrons get first dibs on those. I upload them there first. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive back into Ansible because I'm really excited to write our first playbook. So now let's go ahead and, create our first playbook file. Let's dive right into it. So we will use whatever our editor of choice is. Mine is Vim, but Nano's easy for everybody. Now, regardless of whatever your favorite text editor is, I won't judge you, even if it's Emacs, but I'll go ahead and use Nano for the purposes of this video. And then we can call our playbook install_apache.yml. And the .yml extension is basically the standard extension for playbook files. They are in the YAML format. I'll show you what that means in a moment, but don't worry, I'm not going to go too into detail on that because you don't need to understand everything about YAML files to write a playbook. So I'll press enter here, and then we can go ahead and get started. So we're going to begin the playbook by typing 3 dashes, and then enter, and then I'll press enter again to go to another new line. And then I'll type dash and then hosts : all. So basically the beginning of a statement or a block is going to begin with a hyphen. And this is kind of similar to the commands that we've been running where we say Ansible all. Here it's essentially the same thing, hosts : all. We want to run this on everybody. I'll press enter, and alignment is very, very important here. So I will press space twice. And then I will type become : true. If you recall, we've been using the -- become option, or at least we were, but we added it to ansible.cfg so we don't always have to do that. 2 spaces and then tasks. And then I will do another blank line here, and then 2 spaces, and we're going to write our first play. So we're going to give it a name, so --name, : and the name I'm going to give it is basically a title that's going to show in the output. So we want to be kind of descriptive here. So I'm going to just type exactly what this does, which is install the Apache 2 package. So that's a decent name. I think everybody who looks at that will know exactly what this is doing. So I'm going to line my cursor up underneath the N here. Apt is the module that I want to use. So I just pressed enter. Now I'm spaced over to underneath the T, name : Apache 2. And that's basically our entire first playbook right here. Now again, this is in the YAML format, but you don't have to know everything about the YAML format. You only need to know what's required for using Ansible, which honestly is not all that much, but you can unlock more power with Ansible if you really dive deep into YAML, but we're not going to get too deep into that here. Now again, spacing is very important. So if I go back to the top here, we have this line here, which basically is targeting all hosts. It's the very beginning, so we have a hyphen here. Now here we have 2 spaces because we want all of this to be aligned. Notice that everything is right underneath the other. If I had it like this, that's not going to work. That's going to fail. It needs to be lined up. Hosts all, I've already explained. Become true is sudo, as you know. And then we have a list of tasks. Now, the first task is lined up to the T right here. We have the hyphen here. They're lined up. We give it a name. We want something descriptive, so it doesn't matter what you put here. There are some characters that you can't put here. I'm not going to get into that. I just wanted to include some text. That's good enough for now. And this line here just explains again what this play actually does. And the module that we want to run is apt. That's lined up here to the end. Down here, we've gone 2 spaces to the right, name, Apache 2. Now, if we take a quick look at the documentation for apt, and this is the documentation page from the Ansible Wiki right here, we can see that if we go down here to name, which is what I used, it basically allows us to type the name of a package we want to install. And again, if you want to go even further, you can check out these other options here. But that's essentially all we're doing. We're just installing the Apache 2 package. So Control O and then Enter, and then Control X to exit out. Now to run our actual YAML file, our playbook, against our host, we can use the Ansible-playbook command, which is not something that we explicitly installed. This actually came with Ansible. We've only ever installed a package named Ansible to get Ansible, but there's several binaries, several commands that come with Ansible when you install it, and the Ansible-playbook command is one of those. We're going to do --ask become pass, and then we're going to type the name of the playbook we just created, which was install apache.yml. As you see here, I'll press enter. It's asking us our become password, which I'll type in. Let's see what happens. Now we have quite a bit of output here, don't we? So obviously the playbook that we wrote, it took more time to write that playbook than it would take to just do sudo apt install Apache 2. But that's not the point. We could definitely make that more advanced, and we will, but we have successfully ran a playbook against all of our servers. So it asked us for the become password, which we entered in, and we are targeting all hosts with this playbook. Now the first thing it's doing here is gathering facts. We did not tell it to gather facts. We didn't say, hey Ansible, please gather facts. I'm sure you remember earlier in the series, we ran the gather facts module against our host. It was one of the ad hoc commands that we ran to pull information from those servers. Ansible is actually going to do that every time. Before it runs any playbooks, it wants some information about those servers. You know, what operating system are you, is what it might ask the server. And when the server responds Linux, it's going to ask which distribution are you, which release version are you, and so on and so on. It gathers all of those facts and it stores it for each of the 3 servers, or however many servers you have. And then it actually executes our play. Notice here, install Apache 2 package. That is the same title that we gave the actual instruction inside the playbook. This is what we wrote. Now, if we said pizza is awesome, it would actually show that here. So it doesn't really matter what you put here for the name. We just wrote install Apache 2 package just to be descriptive, to show what it's doing. Now here, it ran it against each of these 3 servers, and it said that it changed something. So here it says OK equals 2, changed equals 1, unreachable is 0, failed is 0, skipped is 0, rescued is 0, and ignored is 0. What does this actually mean? So changed equals 1 means that it did change something. Now it's only going to make changes that are necessary. So if we had like 10 different plays here and all of those 10 requirements were made, it would say changed equals 0. If the host was down, if the server was offline, or there was some kind of network issue, then it would say unreachable equals 1 if it wasn't able to reach this server. But it says unreachable equals 0 because, well, there's no problem. Skipped is when you have a task that you are basically saying only run this task if this requirement is true. And if that requirement is not met, basically it'll skip it. But that's not the case here. We haven't even gotten into that yet. Rescued equals 0. That's probably something we won't get into in this series, but that's basically a way to make a task run as a rescue if a previous task fails. Ignored, well, we're able to ignore things, but we're not. So that's basically what the output means. If I was to go ahead and run this again, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to run the command as it is. I'll type the password yet again for the millionth time. Now here the output is a little bit different. Changed is 0. So when we ran this the first time, it already installed the Apache 2 package. It's not going to reinstall it. It's going to check if that package is installed. If it's not, it's going to go ahead and install it, and then this will be changed equals 1. But if it is already installed, there's nothing to do here, so it'll just be 0 for the number of changes. So now what's really interesting here is that we can actually go to a web browser here, open a new tab, and as long as the IP address for your server is routable to your network, you should be able to access the default web page. So let's see if we can do that. 172.16.250.132. That is my Ubuntu server number 1. I'll press enter. And we have the default Ubuntu web page right here. So using Ansible, we were able to install Apache, and well, here it is. It's working just fine. That is awesome. So you can go ahead and test that for yourself and make sure that you are able to get to the default web page for your server. So let's go ahead and edit the playbook. And I'm going to change this here to just a random name here. I'm going to call the package Chocobo, which is a famous bird character from Final Fantasy. Basically, I'm just typing the name of a package that doesn't actually exist. There's no package with that name. I'll save the file, exit out here, and let's go ahead and run it. And it failed. Now, I did keep the name of the task as install Apache 2 package, even though I'm installing a package named Chocobo, or at least I would be if there was such a name of a package. There is no such package, so this failed. And we see in red here, failed equals 1, because I tried to do something that failed. No package matching Chocobo is available. I knew that. I did that on purpose. So let's go ahead and fix it. And then I will go ahead right here and change the name of the package back to what it should be, Apache 2, and save the file. So we're not going to run into that problem again. Now let's go ahead and add another play to this. Now this worked just fine, but what if our package index was stale? Then this might actually fail. So before our install Apache 2 package play right here, I'm going to press enter twice, and I'm going to add a new play. I want to keep them lined up, so I will press space twice, hyphen, and then name, update repository index. And I want to line that up right there. So again, I'm going to use the apt module. And then the module I will use update cache. Yes. So I will save the file, exit out, and it's not going to do anything different, but I'll go ahead and run it again. So it changed the repository index on each of the 3 servers. So it's going to say changed equals 1, even though the install Apache 2 package, this play right here, which makes sure that that package is installed, that requirement was already met, so it didn't actually register a change for those. But it did actually register a change for the fact that we have updated the repository index, which was actually a good thing to do so we can make sure that that's not stale when we go to install packages. So let's go ahead and actually take another look at that playbook file here and add another change. Now, admittedly, this playbook is somewhat of a mess, and I'm going to make it a bit messier here, but we'll get into cleanup and reorganization in a future video. But let's go ahead and install another package. So I will call this one, let's see, add PHP support for Apache. Again, we're going to use apt. And then the name is going to be libapache2 mod PHP, just like that. Let's save it. Again, that's Control O to save, and then Control X to exit out. And let's run the playbook again. So now we are actually installing 2 packages with 1 playbook. So now it's telling us that there were 2 changes for each of the servers. So we have the change right here on each where we update the repository index, and then another change when we go ahead and add PHP support for Apache, which we have done by installing that libapache2 mod PHP package, and that was done on each of the servers. Now let's go ahead and expand on this playbook just a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is go here to the task where I'm installing the Apache 2 package, and I'm going to add another option here, state latest. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And this is going to make sure that each time I run this playbook, that the packages are the latest versions available. So again, I'll save it and exit out, and let's run it. And it's not actually going to do anything different for the PHP support or even the Apache 2 package. Those are already the most recent versions when I ran this playbook. But now this playbook can be run over and over again to simply make sure that the packages are of the latest versions each time we run it, and that's awesome. Now what we can also do is use the apt module to remove packages as well. I'm going to copy the install Apache YAML file to remove apache.yml. Let's go ahead and open that up in our tried and true editor. And what I'm going to do is change the state to absent on each of these packages here. All right, so I think you already know what's going to happen. But what I'm going to do is run that playbook, remove Apache. So we basically have a playbook that is the polar opposite of the original that we can use to reverse the changes. So I'll press enter. And there we go. So if I go back to the browser, and here we have the default Apache website that comes with Apache when you install it. I'll refresh, and it's gone. Why is it gone? Well, because we were able to remove the package. We ran the playbook to remove Apache, and the only thing different is we changed state latest to state absent. So you have some control over the state of the packages as well. Then I can go ahead and just run the install playbook again to put Apache back on the servers. And there we go. So back here on the browser, we have the default web page again. Now when it comes to our playbooks, they are incredibly inefficient. Don't worry, we'll get to best practices later in the series. So let's go ahead and synchronize with Git. We'll do git status. And we have these 2 files, the ones that we created in this video. So I'm going to do this, git add, and then dot. And what that's going to do is add pretty much everything in the current working directory to the commit that we are going to be sending up to the server. So what we can do right now is git commit -m added install remove playbooks for Apache, then enter. And we can see if we run git status again that we have 1 commit that's pending. Let's go ahead and send that up to GitHub. Git push origin master. There we go. And then back here at the browser, we can see if I refresh the page here, we have the install Apache and remove Apache playbooks there on our GitHub account inside the repository. So how does it feel? You have created your first playbooks in this video, and hopefully now you are beginning to see just what Ansible can do for us when it comes to automation. Now obviously it gets much more advanced than this, and in future videos in this series, we are going to explore this even deeper. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel to ensure that you get the notification as soon as the next episode in this series is available. And when it is, I'll see you there.